Actual review starts here.
Yeah. Okay.
So, X-Men 97 is over.
Yes, it is. I kind of mixed feelings about the finale. It,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
Take the lead.
yeah. So, okay. So this is Tolerance's Extinction Part 3. We pick up where in the beginning of the episode, Charles Xavier has somehow they managed to wrestle with somehow get Magneto under control, and now Charles is in Magneto's head, and his Magneto's like memories are just completely gone. Like he really, or no, wait, uh,
He
uh,
just like has amnesia. He thinks it's further in the past than it actually is, I think.
right, yeah, and that's because Charles is messing with Magneto's head, and because he's trying to convince him, hey, fix the Earth's electromagnetic field. And if you don't, I'm going to do it, take control of your body and do it myself. And Magneto's like, all right, go ahead, do it. And that's exactly what happens. And yeah, then they get stuck together inside Magneto's mind.
Yeah, which makes me wonder if they're going an onslaught direction with it, because that's what happened in the actual comics.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and so you had that, and then you had back on Earth. Uh, Bastion seems to be winning until the Phoenix shows up in Jean Grey, little Deus Ex Phoenix. Yeah.
Yeah, Deus Ex Phoenix slash. Uh, you're not dealing with the ordinary mutant anymore. I've become a super mutant. I've gone beyond.
Yeah, yeah,
Just got that ability that Jean Grey has to manifest the Phoenix whenever she needs it the most.
indeed, yeah. And the U.S. government decides to enact what was it called, the Magneto
The
Protocol.
Magneto Protocol. Yep.
Yeah, so they decide to just shoot a bunch of missiles at Asteroid M, and it doesn't go the way that they were hoping.
No, now it's time for a end of Cretaceous type asteroid event.
Yeah, and of course Bastion flies up there too because he's uh, why did he go up to Asteroid M?
So Phoenix was able to. So he had broken the nullifier device that would cut him off from his fellow Sentinels,
Right.
and
Yeah.
Phoenix was able to reassemble it with plot bullshit magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I didn't know that the Phoenix Force let you assemble electronics that had been smashed to pieces. That's very convenient.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, uh, and so he decides to go and kill the X-Men up there in the asteroid and make sure that was he responsible for why it was going to hit the planet? Maybe.
I think partially responsible. Yeah.
At the very least, he wanted it to happen very badly.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, you got the human Sentinels on a rampage, and you had a few cameos in there.
Yeah, Iron Man and Captain America,
Yeah,
Doctor Strange, the
Daredevil.
Daredevil, Cloak and Dagger, the
Yeah,
evil Soviet or Avengers equivalent.
yeah, and and as Ninja pointed out earlier, Peter Parker, who's there with Mary Jane, and solved whatever the you were talking about before with
Yep. At the end of the '90s Spider-Man cartoon, it was implied that he was going to go with Madam Web to find Mary Jane, and they didn't get another season because they moved over to Spider-Man Unlimited because they decided to copy Batman Beyond, which is really funny when you consider that Batman Beyond was basically them copying Spider-Man's MO for Batman.
yeah.
I mean, I always assumed that they found her,
Yeah, yeah.
but now it's confirmed.
But yes, now it's confirmed. And so the asteroid's coming down, and the X-Men have to come up with this, basically come up with a plan to stop it. And Charles is able to get through to Magneto, and Magneto basically helps them, basically moves the whole asteroid himself.
Yep. And then they have to fight Bastion, who's basically gone Super Sentinel.
Right. Yeah. Because he ripped off Cable's arm and absorbed it.
Yep. And you get some very impressive fight scenes with Rogue and Sunspot in space. I feel like Sunspot keeps being the character where like he has whatever powers they need him to have at the time. Because okay, Rogue being able to survive in space, she had Captain Marvel's Kree powers that she stole. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, don't think it technically violates anything we've ever shown from her.
Yeah.
Sunspot, oh, I turn very dark black and look like a sunspot, and I can apparently fly, and I can survive in space. Also, the sense of perspective in this and distance in this episode is kind of borked because they treat the distance like Earth to asteroid M is treated as a very short distance, and the distance from asteroid M to the moon is treated like it's even shorter of a distance.
Yeah.
Implying that the moon is like 10 miles away from the Earth.
Yeah.
for the timing of things to work out.
Yeah. Not quite right there. And Ninja, of course, points out the Phoenix Force turned a tree into gold in the original show. That's true.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. But yeah, so but just as the asteroid, they save the asteroid, but then it just disappears. And,
yes.
And all of that happens really fast that you don't have time to kind of like acknowledge it and take it in. Like, wait, what just happened there?
Yeah, and so with this show, early on I thought it had slightly dodgy animation, but great character writing. This finale is great character writing. This is great animation with dodgy character writing.
Yeah,
it's because you would never know from the way that people are talking to and interacting with Rogue that she betrayed them at their most important moment to go be with her boyfriend Magneto.
Yeah, they kind of glossed over that whole affair. Yeah.
In fact, if you skipped episode 9, you would be forgiven for assuming that she'd been fighting along them this whole time, in whatever they were doing with Magneto.
Yeah. And then Ninja says Sunspot's powers are very different from his original incarnation. He just had strength in the OG run. He's also had a very different origin in the OG run.
Yeah, see, I didn't know his origin, but I'd read enough New Mutants comics from the 80s to think, wait, Cannonball's thing was flying in those comics. He was like the ground-based brawler.
Yeah.
He is strong enough that he was able to lift Volstagg the Grim, the very fat Thor secondary character, and only threw out his back a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're basically treating Sunspot as whatever power they need, man.
Yeah.
We also get the closest to a romantic declaration between Morph and Wolverine, because Wolverine had the adamantium ripped out of him last episode, and he's not in a good state, so he can't participate in any of this. So Morph, Wolverine's going, Jean, and Morph goes, well, she can't be here to tell you this, but I can. And so he morphs into Jean and says, Logan, stay with us. I love you.
Yeah. Yeah, which was confirmed that yes, that was Morph confessing his love to Wolverine. Yeah.
Right. Like it was indirect, but it feels like it was written in such a way that they could back off of it if they wanted to in season 2.
Yeah.
And then as far as the characterization roundup, Bastion didn't end up being as clever of a villain as he thought. Really, the characters who come out of this looking the best are Cyclops and Jean.
Yeah.
And Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler's pretty consistent.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, Cyclops and Jean have a nice little moment with Cable before where they have with the stuff with Asteroid M.
Yeah. So then we cut to the future, and it's 6 months on, and the X-Men are still missing, and it's unclear what's going on. Now, so based on where characters were when the weird sci-fi BS happened with the Asteroid M, um, and we didn't see Morph and Wolverine in the ending, right? I don't think
Morph might have been with might have been in there somewhere. I can't remember.
but Wolverine wasn't.
No, I didn't see Wolverine. Yeah.
So yeah, the X-Men have been flung through time.
Yes.
Uh, uh, so Cyclops and Phoenix were flung into the future to do the Cyclops and Phoenix miniseries from the 90s. The difference is that rather than possessing people in the future and getting to raise Cable that way, it's just them. So that kind of removes some of the tragic irony from the situation.
Yeah.
Where Cable, like where they got to raise Cable, but he didn't know it was them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then the rest of them are in 3000 BC in Egypt, and they have a run-in with
In Saba Nur,
and
aka
Sabanur Apocalypse.
yes.
Yes.
And if they'd handled some of the other stuff better in the last half of the series, I probably would have been more hyped. But I think the problem is that okay. So we were talking in our review of the first couple episodes that it felt like they were dealing with the Madeline Pryor plotline awfully fast.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, this is like you've hit the highlights, so that's good. And then they had the Storm life death storyline where it's like you rushed right to fixing the problem you created.
Yeah.
Like Storm without her powers was a thing for probably like a year in the comics at least. And she did all sorts of weird stuff. Like she dealt with, or she had to fight the aliens that were from Rom Space Knight, the Dire Wraiths, who possess people. She was in Japan with Wolverine's old buddy Yukiko, I think her name was, or Yuriko, or the short-haired one.
Yeah.
And like she just got to experience life without her powers, but nope. In this show, we don't have the time for that for even an episode. So she just gets to be sad.
Yeah.
And then she gets fixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rogue was just character assassinated.
She was. Yeah. She really was. Yeah. Between the weird relationship with Magneto, and the whole thing, the whole love triangle with Magneto, and Gambit, and then her reaction to Genosha and Gambit's death, and then and then what she did in episode 9 was just like, okay, come on.
Yeah.
Oh, and dropping Trask off the building. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah, and it's like, so the high points, Cyclops and Jean Grey, they felt like they were the main characters this season.
Yeah.
It felt like they did more with Jubilee this season than they usually did back in the 90s cartoon. So I guess,
yeah,
even if some of it wasn't too great, I would actually say that Jubilee's best moments were not her focus half episode, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. And Ninja thinks that some of the character stuff will unfortunately going to be fully resolved in the next season. And he said Jubilee's more of Sunspot and Wolverine were not in the ending based on what he saw. Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay, yeah. That tracks.
Yeah.
Because what I feel like they're probably going to do is So second season, they're going to have, of course, the X-Men in the past and future have to get back. You're going to have that past X-Men team have to deal with Apocalypse in the past. You're going to have Cyclops and Phoenix have the pain of losing their son again to return to the present. Wolverine is, I'm going to be very cynical here because I'm very tired. Wolverine is going to get his adamantium back in the same episode in which he deals with the consequences of losing it. That's the show's track record.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, and they're probably. God, it sounds like they're still going to keep going with the Magneto Rogue thing, but just like, no, stop it, please.
Yeah, this is less of a betrayal than a lot of other streaming shows I've watched. I'm not mad. I'm just kind of disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for the oh yeah, I saw the post-credit scene, Ninja. Did you, DB? With Apocalypse. Apocalypse was in Genosha.
No, I did not. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was kind of annoyed, and as soon as the credits started, I was out.
Yeah. No more of this.
Yeah. So it's gone from a breath of fresh air, great cartoon, to just like, okay, it's it's really a medley. It's like you're at the concert for a famous musician. They've been playing some of their new stuff, and it doesn't sound quite the same as on the album, but that's okay because you're there for the live experience. Mm-hmm. And then like, oh man, I can't wait to hear some of my favorite songs, and you get a few bars of them in a mashup medley. That's just there to satisfy the audience. Like, well, they'll riot if we don't play X.
Yeah. Free bird.
I'm in the state of not being terribly excited for season 2.
Yeah.
But also, it's like I probably would watch season 2, so I guess they've got that going for them.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly better than. I would say this is the best Disney Plus show that I've seen. At least from the Marvel side of it. Which isn't saying much, I know, but
it's weird that it has the opposite problem of The Mandalorian. Because like, The Mandalorian was like a fine first season, but you could have probably chopped that into a movie if you did it right.
Yeah.
And just cut out some of the fluff and the staring off into the distance and scenery porn and things like that.
Oh yeah, well yeah, same with Kenobi and Boba Fett, which both of those shows were actually supposed to be movies, but then they just that's another whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing, yeah. But it's annoying to watch it on a fast forward. It also means I can't, in good conscience, share it with anybody who didn't already kind of know the stories.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of conflicted with it. It's I really want to like it, at least the last, few episodes, but the last 3 episodes were a bit of a letdown for me. Like the whole season just did, it did feel rushed in a lot of places, and I know the old showrunner was kind of lamenting the fact that he couldn't get a full 22 episode season, which I think the show could have used. It could have it could have used at least another 10 episodes to flesh some stuff out, but
right. And like, I don't think the show's malicious. I think it's just couldn't quite do what it wanted to do in the time it had to do it.
Yeah.
So like, there were storylines they probably should have cut just for brevity.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. what I can say is that this is definitely the best animated X-Men has ever been, especially in the last half. Like I would put a lot of these fight scene moments on par with the best of the best high budget action anime out there.
Yeah, yeah, I would too. Yeah. And Ninja thinks they'll bring Gambit back next year. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, especially if they have Apocalypse, he'll probably be
Yeah,
one of his four horsemen.
yeah. Gambit was death at one point in the comics that I didn't read, so
Mm,
that's probably what they'll do with him to bring him
yeah,
back.
yeah,
But yeah, I just feel mildly deflated about this, and it's not awful. If you read the X-Men comics in the '90s, it's like a highlight reel of moments that you always thought were cool. That it's fun to see animated, but it just doesn't necessarily stand on its own all that well.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, and from what I can tell, a lot of people have kind of tuned out of the show because the ratings for it have not been very good.
Yeah. Well, what I heard was that the ratings were consistent, so not a lot of people who started were stopping. The last I heard, it's just the show didn't enter the top 10 streaming at any point. And the Nielsen numbers came out according to, I believe it was Variety, and it came in with about half of the views of Echo for
Ouch.
2024. Now I didn't actually have a chance to look at the source of the chart. The chart was labeled streaming for 2024, so that means that you have months of Echo being available as reruns
Mhm.
to bump up those numbers versus X-Men, going week to week.
Right. Yeah.
But the other thing is that it is an adult animation. Like you couldn't sit a small child down in front of this and have it be appropriate for them.
Oh no, no. Yeah, this is very PG-13. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a huge market for non-anime adult animation in general.
Yeah.
The only thing I could think of in recent years that's gotten that type of attention is Arcane over on Netflix.
Mm. Yeah.
And so there isn't really like a non-comedy adult animation market for the West to really compare this to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah.
So I don't. Is it a bomb because people just weren't interested, or is it a bomb? But it's like, well, you hit the maximum size of the target market of people who would be interested in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hard to say. Would have to have some more data and some time to sort it out.
Yeah. And there are plenty of other channels, by the way, that are doing just that. So you can
Right.
always go check those out.
Yeah, I'm sure I would not be surprised if we got a Valiant Renegade video about it or a Midnight's Edge or something like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Although
Ninja.
some
Yeah.
of them seem to have moved on from the show immediately when they realized, oh, this is actually good, and there's not really a whole lot to complain about. Okay, moving on. Next topic.
Yeah. Oh, Ninja mentions Invincible is the closest one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how big Invincible was in terms of absolute streaming numbers. I know it was well received by people who watched it, but
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't know how many people were watching that. I haven't watched the new season yet. Didn't really. I don't know. That show kind of didn't really grab me that much.
well, the thing with Invincible is that it's a very Robert Kirkman is not the type of guy who's going to present super well done characters. Like everything he did for Invincible, from what I've read and watched over the years, is it's very expected. I guess is the best way I can put it.
Oh, yeah,
It's like there are cool concepts in there, but it's like I don't know the character. I never bonded with any of the characters he presented.
yeah. Same here.
But,
Yeah.
but, but I'm not a fan of Kirkman going back to his run on Ultimate X-Men back in the 2000s. So
Oh,
say la vie. Most people I know enjoy Invincible, so I'm standing outside of the norm again, like with Animal House.
yeah. Okay.